sat alone in her small room on Station 7 and stared at the glowing notification on her tablet. The words made her stomach twist with fear. She had been assigned a new partner for the cultural exchange program, and this time it was a human. She had heard stories about humans her entire life. Everyone in the galaxy had heard the stories. Humans were loud. Humans were overwhelming. Humans formed attachments to everything and everyone around them with a speed and intensity that other species found exhausting. The elders back home spoke of humans the way one might speak of a storm: powerful, unpredictable, and best avoided if possible. Was not built for storms. She was, and her people valued silence and stillness above all things. They communicated through subtle gestures and soft words. They kept their emotions locked away where no one could see them, had always been shy, even by standards, and the thought of spending an entire semester with a human made her want to hide under her sleeping platform and never come out. This was her third attempt at the integration program. Her first partner had been a four-armed species known for their blunt honesty, had spent most of that partnership crying in her room because they said everything she was thinking without any filter at all. Her second partner had been an insect-like species that communicated through clicking sounds, had tried her best, but the constant noise had given her headaches that lasted for days. If she failed this time, she would be sent home. Her family would be disappointed. Her community would whisper about the girl who could not even manage basic integration. She would spend the rest of her life on Prime, never traveling, never seeing the wonders of the galaxy, forever marked as the one who could not handle the universe beyond her quiet world. The notification said her human partner would arrive at the common room in 1 hour. Spent that hour packing back and forth across her small room. Her bioluminescent freckles flickered across her pale blue skin, glowing brighter each time her anxiety spiked. She hated when they did that. It was like wearing her emotions on the outside of her body for everyone to see. When the time came, she forced herself to walk to the common room. Every step felt heavy. She kept her large, dark eyes focused on the floor and tried to make herself as small as possible. Other beings moved past her in the corridor, species from a dozen different worlds, and she flinched away from each of them. The common room was bright and filled with soft seating areas where partners could meet. Found an empty corner and sat down, pulling her knees up to her chest and wrapping her long arms around them. She waited. The human arrived exactly on time. Looked up and saw a woman with warm brown skin and dark curly hair that was pulled back from her face. She was shorter than had expected, and she moved with an easy grace that seemed almost gentle. Her name was, according to the notification, and she was 24 years old. Spotted in the corner and smiled. It was not a big smile, not the overwhelming display of teeth that had been expecting. It was small and soft and reached her brown eyes in a way that made her whole face look kind. Braced herself for the onslaught. Humans were supposed to rush forward and invade personal space. They were supposed to talk too much and ask too many questions. They were supposed to be exhausting from the very first moment. But did not rush forward. She walked slowly across the room and stopped about 2 meters away from. Then she sat down on a cushion at that respectful distance and folded her hands in her lap. "Hi," said. Her voice was soft, almost as soft as a voice. "I am, you must be." Nodded. She could not find her voice. "I read your file before I came," continued. "I know that prefer quiet and personal space. I want you to know that I will try my best to respect that. If I ever do something that makes you uncomfortable, please tell me. I promise I will not be offended." Blinked. This was not how the stories went. This was not how humans were supposed to behave at all. "I brought you something," said. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small plant in a simple pot. The plant had leaves that glowed faintly purple in the light. "I read that like bioluminescent things. This is from the Academy Gardens. I thought it might make your room feel more like home." Stared at the plant. No one had ever given her a gift before, not in the entire time she had been at the academy. She did not know what to say, so she said nothing. Did not seem bothered by the silence. She set the plant down between them and sat back. "We do not have to talk right now if you do not want to. We can just sit here. I am happy to sit in silence with you." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Studied the human from the corner of her eye. Was looking out the window at the stars beyond the station, and her expression was peaceful. She did not fidget or tap her fingers or show any of the restless energy that humans were famous for. She simply sat there, calm and patient, as if she had all the time in the universe. felt something strange stir in her chest. It took her a moment to recognize it because she had not felt it in a very long time. It was curiosity. This human was nothing like what she had expected, and for the first time since receiving her assignment, found herself wondering what else she had been wrong about. "Thank you," said finally. Her voice was barely more than a whisper. "For the plant." Turned to look at her, and that small, kind smile appeared again. "You are welcome. I hope we can be friends, but only if you want to be. There is no pressure." Did not know if she wanted to be friends. She did not know what she wanted at all. But as she sat there in the quiet common room with this strange, gentle human, she realized that she was no longer afraid. She was curious, and that, she thought, might be the beginning of something new. 2 weeks had passed since met her human partner, and everything she thought she knew about humans was slowly falling apart. Was not loud, did not fill every silence with meaningless chatter, did not demand attention or energy that did not have to give. Instead, watched and listened and noticed things that no one else had ever noticed before. First realized this when she walked into their shared study space one evening and found that the lights had been dimmed. Eyes were sensitive to bright light, and had spent months squinting and getting headaches in the academy's standard lighting. She had never complained because she did not want to cause trouble, but somehow had figured it out. The human had adjusted the lighting controls to a softer setting that did not hurt eyes at all. When asked about it, just shrugged and said she had noticed rubbing her temples a lot and thought the lights might be the problem. No one had ever paid that much attention to before. She did not know what to do with the warm feeling that spread through her chest. The second time she noticed was during a group exercise. The integration program brought partners together for team activities designed to build cooperation between species. Hated these exercises because they required her to speak in front of others, and her voice always came out too quiet for anyone to hear. During one such exercise, a male made a comment about, there were a reptilian species known for their harsh judgments, and this one said in a voice loud enough for everyone to hear that it was a waste of resources to include a who could barely manage to open her mouth. Wanted to disappear. Her bioluminescent freckles flickered wildly across her skin, broadcasting her shame to the entire room. She looked down at the floor and wished she had never left Prime. Then stepped forward. She did not raise her voice or make aggressive gestures. She simply looked at them with calm, steady eyes and spoke in a tone that was polite but firm. "Communicates just fine," said. "The problem is that some beings are too busy making noise to listen. Perhaps if you tried being quiet for once, you might learn something valuable." The stared at for a long moment. Then he made a dismissive sound and turned away, but he did not make any more comments about for the rest of the exercise. Later that evening, found on the observation deck. This had become their place over the past 2 weeks, a quiet corner where they could watch ships come and go and the stars burn bright against the blackness of space. Was sitting on a bench near the window, and she looked up when approached. "You did not have to do that," said. "Defend me." "I know," said, "but I wanted to. He was wrong about you." Sat down on the bench, leaving a comfortable distance between them. "Most beings think the same thing he does, that I am weak, that I have nothing to offer." "Most beings are wrong about a lot of things," said. She turned to look out the window at the stars. "Being quiet is not the same as being weak. Some of the strongest people I have ever known were the quiet ones." They sat in silence after that, but it was not an uncomfortable silence. It was the kind of silence that felt like a warm blanket wrapped around shoulders. She had never known that silence could be shared with another being without it feeling empty or awkward. In the days that followed, found herself thinking about more and more. She started researching humans on her tablet late at night when no one could see. She read about their history, their cultures, their strange and wonderful ways of connecting with each other. One thing in particular caught her attention. Humans had a concept they called love. It was not like anything they had. For they, partnerships were practical arrangements based on compatibility and social standing. Emotions were controlled and contained. But humans loved with their whole beings. They formed bonds so strong that they would cross the galaxy for the people they cared about. They loved their families and their friends and their romantic partners with an intensity that other species found almost frightening. And strangest of all, humans could love anyone. They loved their pets and their plants and their favorite objects. They loved characters in stories who did not even exist. They had hearts so big that there seemed to be no limit to the connections they could form. thought about sitting quietly on the observation deck. She thought about the plant glowing softly in her room. She thought about the dimmed lights and the gentle defense against the cruel words. Was this what human love looked like? These small gestures that asked for nothing in return. Noticed that her bioluminescent freckles had started glowing more frequently when was around. Other at the academy had begun to notice too. They gave her strange looks in the corridors, and one of them asked if she was feeling well because her light patterns seemed unusual. Did not know how to explain that she felt better than she had in years. She did not know how to explain that a human had done what no had ever managed to do, had made her feel seen and valued and safe. One morning, woke up and realized that she was looking forward to seeing, not dreading it, not feeling anxious about it, just looking forward to spending another day with her partner. The realization hit her like a cold wave. She was not supposed to feel this way. They did not form attachments. They did not let their emotions run wild. They did not glow like signal beacons every time another being walked into the room. But was glowing right now, alone in her room, just thinking about seeing at breakfast. She pressed her hands against her face and tried to slow her breathing. Something was happening to her, something she did not understand and could not control. It frightened her more than anything had frightened her in a very long time. But underneath the fear there was something else, something warm, something that felt like hope. Got out of bed and got ready for the day. She would see soon, and despite everything she could not wait. The Unity Festival was the biggest event of the year on Station 7. Beings from across the galaxy gathered to celebrate cooperation between species, and the station was transformed into a riot of colors and sounds and strange new smells. Had been dreading it for weeks. She stood at the entrance to the main festival hall and felt her courage shrinking with every passing second. Hundreds of beings moved through the space, talking and laughing and calling out to each other. Music played from somewhere deep inside the hall, a dozen different songs blending into a wall of noise. Lights flashed in patterns designed to appeal to species with all kinds of visual systems. It was overwhelming. It was too much. Could feel the emotional energy of the crowd pressing against her like a physical weight. They were sensitive to the feelings of others, and right now she was drowning in a sea of joy and excitement and barely contained chaos. Her bioluminescent freckles flickered rapidly, a sure sign of distress. She took a step backward, ready to flee to her quiet room and spend the festival alone. Then a hand touched her elbow, gentle, barely there. "Hey," said softly, "are you okay?" Shook her head, she could not speak. Did not ask questions. She did not tell to calm down or push her to try harder. Instead, she slipped her hand into and said, "Follow me." Led her through the crowd with quiet efficiency. She seemed to know exactly where the gaps were, exactly how to move between the larger beings without drawing attention. Within minutes, they had left the main hall behind and entered a small alcove tucked away behind a maintenance corridor. It was quiet here. The noise of the festival was muffled, and the lights were dim and steady. Leaned against the wall and closed her eyes, focusing on her breathing until her racing heart began to slow. "Better?" asked. "Yes," managed. "Thank you, I am sorry. I should be able to handle this. Everyone else can handle this." "You do not have to be like everyone else," said. She sat down on the floor and patted the space beside her, sank down gratefully. For a while they just sat together in the quiet alcove. Freckles slowly stopped flickering and settled into a steady, soft glow. She felt safe here with beside her. "Can I tell you something?" asked eventually. Nodded. "When I was a child, I was very shy. I know that is hard to believe because humans are supposed to be social creatures. But I was not like the other children. Crowds scared me. New people scared me. I spent most of my childhood hiding in corners and wishing I could disappear." Stared at her. "But you seem so comfortable now. You always know what to say and how to act." "That took a lot of work," said. "Years of practice and many mistakes along the way. I learned how to be comfortable around others, but it was not natural for me. It still is not sometimes. There are days when I want to hide in my room and not see anyone." "I did not know humans could be shy," said quietly. "We can be anything," said with a small smile. "Humans are not all the same. We are loud sometimes and quiet sometimes. We are brave sometimes and scared sometimes. That is what makes us human." Thought about this? All her life she had believed that her shyness made her wrong, made her broken, made her less than what a proper should be. But here was saying that being different was not a flaw. Is that why you asked to work with us? Asked. Nodded. I read about your species. I thought maybe we would understand each other. The other humans at the academy wanted partners they could go on adventures with, but I wanted a partner who would appreciate the quiet moments. Something warm bloomed in his chest. You chose me. I chose your species, said. But after meeting you, I would choose you specifically. You are kind and thoughtful, and you notice things that others miss. You are exactly the partner I was hoping for. Did not know what to say. Her freckles were glowing brighter than ever, and she could not seem to control them at all. Before she could respond, a loud alarm began to blare through the station. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside their alcove. A voice came over the communication system announcing that there was a fire in the main festival hall and all beings should evacuate immediately. Froze, she could hear screaming now, the sounds of panic from the crowd they had just escaped. Her whole body went rigid with fear. Was on her feet in an instant. She reached down and took his hand firmly. Stay with me. I know the way to the emergency exits. I cannot, whispered. I cannot move. Yes, you can, said. Her voice was calm and steady like an anchor in a storm. Look at me, look at me. Forced herself to meet his eyes, brown and warm and completely unafraid. I will not let anything happen to you, said. Do you trust me? Nodded without hesitation. Then come with me. Led her through the winding corridors of the station. Around them, beings were running and shouting, but moved with purpose and certainty. She knew exactly where she was going, exactly which turns to take, exactly how to avoid the worst of the panicking crowds. They emerged from an emergency exit onto an outer observation platform. The air was cool and fresh, and the stars shone peacefully overhead as if nothing was wrong at all. Other beings streamed out of various exits, but the platform was not crowded yet, and stood near the railing, catching their breath. Realized they were still holding hands. She looked down at their intertwined fingers, her pale blue skin against brown warmth. She did not let go. Neither did. Thank you, said. You saved me. We saved each other, said. You trusted me when you were scared. That took courage. Looked up at her human partner, at the woman who had chosen quiet over adventure, who had learned to navigate her own shyness, who had never once made feel like she was too much trouble. Her freckles were glowing so brightly that they cast shadows on the platform around them. Other beings might stare. Other might whisper about her lack of control. But standing there with his hand in hers, found that she did not care who saw. A month had passed since the fire at the Unity Festival, and everything had changed, and had become inseparable. They attended their classes together, ate their meals together, and spent every evening on the observation deck watching the stars. The Academy instructors held up their partnership as a model example of successful integration. Other students asked them for advice on how to connect with their own partners. Had never been happier in her entire life, and that was exactly the problem. The other at the Academy had started to notice. They gathered in small groups and whispered when walked past. Some of them approached her directly, their voices carrying the particular tone of concern that used when they believed something was seriously wrong. Your light patterns are very unusual, one of them said. Her name was, and she was older than by several years. You glow constantly now. It is not healthy. I feel fine, said. The elders back home would be concerned, continued. This level of emotional display is not appropriate for our kind. You should speak with a healer before your condition becomes permanent. Walked away without answering, but the words stayed with her, echoing in her mind late at night when she could not sleep. Was something wrong with her? Was she sick? The valued emotional control above almost everything else. Children were taught from birth to keep their feelings contained, to never let their bioluminescence betray their inner state. Who could not control their glow was considered unstable, unreliable, unfit for proper society. But did not feel unstable. She felt alive in a way she never had before. Every day with brought new joys, small moments of connection that lit up her heart like the stars outside her window. The real blow came when she received the notification about the program ending. The semester was almost over. Partners would be reassigned or sent back to their home worlds within 2 weeks. Read the notification 3 times, hoping she had misunderstood, but the words did not change. In 14 days she would be separated from, they might never see each other again. The thought was unbearable. It felt like someone had reached into her chest and squeezed her heart until she could not breathe. This was wrong. This intensity of feeling was wrong. They did not form attachments like this. They accepted change with grace and moved forward without looking back. But was not sure she could be a proper anymore. Something had shifted inside her, something fundamental, and she did not know how to shift it back. That evening, she did not go to the observation deck. She went to the Academy Gardens instead, a quiet space filled with plants from 100 different worlds. The bioluminescent flowers glowed softly in the darkness, their light gentle and soothing. Found a bench hidden among the tall ferns and sat down alone. She did not know how long she sat there. Long enough for the artificial night cycle to deepen, long enough for most of the other beings in the gardens to drift away to their rooms. She was lost in her own thoughts, trying to understand what was happening to her and failing completely. There you are. Looked up, was walking toward her through the glowing flowers, her expression soft with concern. I went to the observation deck and you were not there, said. I was worried. I am sorry, I needed to think. Sat down on the bench beside her, not too close, respecting the distance that had become comfortable between them, but close enough that could feel her warmth. Do you want to talk about it? Did not answer right away. She stared at the bioluminescent flowers, watching their gentle pulse of light. Her own freckles were flickering erratically, and she could not seem to make them stop. I do not understand what is happening to me, she finally said. I have never felt this way before, about anyone. I think about you all the time. When we are apart, I count the minutes until we are together again. When you smile at me, I feel like I am glowing from the inside out. And I am scared. I am so scared because this is not normal. This is not how we're supposed to feel. Listened without interrupting. Her brown eyes were fixed on his face, patient and attentive. The program is ending, continued. In 2 weeks we will be separated, and I cannot bear it. I cannot bear the thought of never seeing you again. What is wrong with me? What is this feeling that is too big for my body to contain? For a long moment was quiet. Then she reached out and gently took his hand. Her touch was warm and soft and achingly tender. There is nothing wrong with you, said. What you are describing is something that humans know very well. If you want, I can tell you what we call it. Nodded. She was afraid to speak, afraid that her voice would crack and break. Humans have a name for what you are feeling, said. We call it love. The word hung in the air between them, strange and new and terrifying. Love is when someone becomes so important to you that you cannot imagine your life without them, continued. It is when their happiness matters more than your own. It is when you would do anything to keep them safe and make them smile. It is the most powerful thing humans feel, and it is not a sickness or a weakness. It is a gift. His freckles were glowing so brightly now that they cast patterns of light across the garden around them. She did not try to dim them. She could not have dimmed them if she tried. Is that what this is? She whispered. Love. Squeezed her hand gently. Only you can answer that. But I can tell you that the way you are describing your feelings sounds very much like how humans describe love. Looked at their joined hands, blue and brown intertwined, and human connected in a way that her people had never imagined possible. She said, and her voice was barely a breath, What do I do now? You do not have to do anything, said. We can figure this out together. Whatever happens, I am not going to leave you alone. For the first time in weeks, felt the tight knot of fear in her chest begin to loosen. She did not have all the answers. She did not know what the future held, but she was not alone. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. The day had been dreading arrived faster than she expected. A summons appeared on her tablet, calling her to the communication center for an emergency holographic meeting with the Elder Council. She knew what this was about. Word had traveled back to Prime about her unusual behavior, her uncontrolled glowing, her attachment to a human. The elders wanted to address the situation before it became an embarrassment to the entire species. Walked to the communication center alone. Had offered to come with her, but this was something had to face by herself. She needed to stand on her own feet, even if her legs were shaking. The communication room was small and dim, designed to make holographic projections appear more solid and real. When entered, 3 figures were already waiting for her. They shimmered with the blue light of the projection technology, but their faces were clear and stern. Elder stood in the center, tall and composed, her bioluminescent freckles perfectly controlled as always. On either side of her stood Elder and Elder, their expressions equally cold. Of House, Elder said. You know why we have called this meeting? Yes, Elder. Reports have reached us regarding your behavior at the Galactic Integration Academy. You have formed an inappropriate attachment to a human. Your emotional displays have become uncontrolled and excessive. You have brought shame upon yourself and your house. Stood very still. Her freckles flickered, but she did not look away from the Elder's stern gaze. We are prepared to offer you mercy, Elder said. Return home immediately. Undergo emotional retraining at the Temple of Stillness. In time, this unfortunate phase will pass, and you may resume your place in proper society. And if I refuse? Asked. Her voice was quiet but steady. The three elders exchanged glances. It was Elder who answered. If you refuse, you will be exiled. You will no longer be. You will have no family, no house, no home world. You will be alone in the universe, cut off from everything you have ever known. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Had known this was coming, had prepared herself for it during sleepless nights, but hearing it spoken aloud made it terrifyingly real. She thought about Prime, the quiet forest where she had played as a child, the soft glow of the evening lights in her family home, the familiar faces of her parents and siblings and neighbors. Everything she had ever known, everything she had ever been, was wrapped up in that world. And then she thought about the way smiled when she saw in the morning, the warmth of his hand in hers, the quiet evenings on the observation deck, watching the stars in comfortable silence, the feeling of being seen and valued and loved for exactly who she was. They had taught to be quiet. They had taught her to be controlled. They had taught her to dim her light and hide her feelings and make herself small. Had taught her that she did not have to be any of those things. Had taught her that being different was not the same as being broken. Had taught her that the light inside her was something beautiful, something worth sharing with the universe. Straightened her spine. When she spoke, her voice did not shake. With respect, elders, I must decline your offer. The three holographic figures stared at her in shock. I am not sick, continued. I am not broken. I am not going through a phase that needs to be fixed. For the first time in my life, I understand what it means to truly connect with another being. I have learned that there are more ways to exist than the way I was taught. You would give up everything for a human, Elder demanded. You would throw away your heritage, your family, your entire identity. I'm not throwing anything away, said. I am choosing to grow. They taught me to fear my own emotions. They taught me that connection was weakness, but that is not the truth. Connection is strength, and I would rather be exiled with love than welcomed home without it. The elders were silent for a long moment. Then Elder spoke, her voice cold and final. So be it. From this moment forward, you are no longer. You have no house, no family, no claim to our world. May you find whatever peace you seek among the aliens you have chosen over your own kind. The holographic projections flickered and vanished. Stood alone in the dim room, the weight of what she had just done settling over her like a heavy blanket. She had lost everything, her home, her family, her entire world. But as she walked out of the communication center, she found waiting in the corridor outside. Well, asked. Her face was anxious, hopeful, worried all at once. Smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. I am exiled, she said. I am no longer, I have no home. His face fell. Oh, I am so sorry, you should not have had to choose. This is my fault if I had not. No, said. She reached out and took his hand, intertwining their fingers together. I did not choose exile, I chose you. I chose to stay with the person who taught me that I do not have to hide who I am. That is not your fault. That is my gift. Eyes filled with tears, she squeezed his hand tightly. Before either of them could speak again, a new notification appeared on his tablet. It was from the Academy administration. She opened it and read aloud. In recognition of your exceptional partnership and contribution to the integration program, and are offered permanent positions as cultural liaisons at the Galactic Integration Academy. Your work together has demonstrated that even the most unlikely connections can flourish when approached with patience and respect. Looked up at, they want us to stay together. Is that what you want? Asked. Answered by stepping forward and wrapping her arms around in a hug. It was the first time she had ever hugged anyone in her life. Did not embrace, but was not anymore. She was something new, something that she was only beginning to understand. Hugged her back, warm and tight and real. Later, they walked to the observation deck one last time. The stars burned bright beyond the window, countless worlds waiting to be explored. Its bioluminescent freckles glowed steady and strong, no longer a source of shame, but a beacon of the love she had finally learned to embrace. Other species will study us, said. They will try to understand how a shy girl and a quiet human woman change the way the galaxy thinks about connection. Let them study, said. We do not have anything to hide. She looked out at the stars, and for the first time in her life, she was not afraid of what lay beyond, because she was not facing the universe alone anymore. She had found home in the most unexpected place. She had found home in a human heart,